Clapton doesn't have YouTube in his Rolls Royce. Baxter here, Jonathan, Casino Guitars coming right at you.
That's right.
Why do the young hate the old so much in this industry? We're having a good conversation about this the other morning.
There's old people. I'm torn because I don't know if I'm young or old.
I think you're right. I don't know where I dab in the middle of.
Dang it.
Oh. We're thoroughly in the old. Like once you're past 28, I think you're the old.
I'm definitely old in my heart. My soul is old.
I know it's sorry, and in the world of this fast-moving rock and roll world, so we're laughing about it. It came from all like the funny stuff that happens with the guys from Polyphia making fun of Bill Biz at first, then backpedaling and no, we didn't mean that, but you kind of did. It's okay, and then because I say dumb things about the other things that I don't mean and kind of do mean at the same time.
My favorite thing about that whole thing is he's like, oh, I didn't mean it. I'm just describing those cliche things that old people do. I didn't mean any offense.
I didn't mean offense.
It's just
that music. I kind of like it. It's kind of like when do you remember like in 2008 when like screamo was like the thing?
Oh yeah.
So all music's gonna be like stream, like like Alisana, like Bring Me the Horizon, and stuff like this is gonna be like the new music. It's like gone now.
Gone.
It's totally gone.
That's probably when I stopped listening to new things.
It's just like a footnote. Like I see the guys when they straighten their hair, like just as like, and they're all like 32 now, and they're like, I just want to be happy again. Remember my youth. But you gotta be careful when you start trashing it. But then, why the old hate the young?
I mean,
this is the age-old battle.
What are you guys doing? I can't believe. I mean, it's funny we were talking about this the other day, sitting around our little couch circle. We want to think that this is some new thing, but I feel like if you talk to young Rolling Stones, young Beatles, they'd have been like, don't trust these BS 30-year-olds.
But that's where we came up with the thing is like, it's not the same.
It's not. There's a difference.
Because let's talk about Eric Clapton. That dude has done nothing but give homage to
everyone who came before him,
the entire time. It's like they set the groundwork up for me to be rich, famous rock star blues guy.
Right.
So it was like all like the Elmore James, like to Muddy Waters, all the Americana black blues artists. So like that's his jam. Even the guys like Chet, you can talk about Chet Atkins and
Carl Perkins, those guys, they're super into that stuff. Scotty Moore, you can hear them talk about the whole gamut of American music they were listening to. And the overwhelming majority of the time, Clapton has nothing but good stuff to say about those folks. You know what I mean? I think that's true in that whole generation. Same thing with the Rolling Stones, same thing with all those guys.
And maybe it is like, as like some of the younger generations like have to sort of like, it's just a different world because like you're so accessible to like sound clips and quotes now. Whereas like like Eric Clapton was walking around like unless a newspaper guy got him or he was at a concert saying like some ridiculously silly things, there was no way to get him.
Right.
You had to get an interview. But now like you can just go on your Instagram and start like spouting off or you could have a YouTube channel.
Which is dangerous because sometimes you just start riffing and you say things and you think about it later. God, that's not really what I think.
We've said some dumb shit.
Because you just go down a rabbit, like a thought process. You go down this rabbit hole and...
I call it like a thought toilet sometimes. And you end up at the bottom and sometimes it's not good. And you can either backpedal out of it or you can hold on to it and like
lean in.
Make that your stance. Which it might be a really stupid stance. And we've had that on a few videos where it's like, man, like, I don't agree with that anymore. Or we're usually pretty good about it. But,
yeah, I mean, that's...
We do our homework a bit. But it's funny. It's a weird... And so when we opened up the video, with the Rolls Royce gag and Clapton, is like, it's funny because, like, he doesn't pay attention to this.
Yeah, do you think he's aware of that stuff at all?
He is the Nicolas Cage of music. He who's like the greatest thespian of our time. Nicolas Cage doesn't have social media. He's not even aware of the meme with him and Pedro Pascal that's going around right now where they look at each other when they're high on acid in the movie. Great little moment in the movie. I wish it was longer. That's what I wish the whole movie was. Them just high on acid doing funny stuff.
That's fair.
They would have taken like the writers from Superbad and put it with those two guys.
Amazing.
Brilliant movie. It was close, but not quite there. But no, I think this stuff just doesn't even reach to guys like that's level. And then because they've made their mark. They've paid homage where homage is due, and now it's time for the young generation.
Do you think that perhaps in Clapton's day, in that day, it really was more about you just make music, just make good music. You had a chance to get discovered. You had a chance to have a record deal, and you didn't have to worry with all this peripheral stuff.
I don't think the personality was as important. I mean,
Right.
because like even like from my childhood, like I didn't know the personality of any of these guys that I saw in these videos or anything. They would they'd give me like, let's say but this is even pre-video time.
Yeah.
You would just have to hear them or see the record cover, and that's all you pretty much knew, unless you were like Teen Beat, like got some little thing on which.
Well, I mean, one of the things I loved about, and I'm not saying I hate young musicians or any stuff, but I mean, I do. But one of the things I love about Clapton and some of those players from that generation, but Clapton in particular, he just seems like he's out playing because he loves it, right? Like he plays music because that's what he does. He loves to play, and you can look at almost every time, and
Particularly his Crossroads festivals, like he's just having fun with his friends.
He's just loving it, man. He's just eating it up, jamming with people, playing different things every night.
Well, right now it's so hard. There's a new way you can get famous as a musical guitar player, not as Clapton wasn't just a guitar player; he was in great bands, they had great songs. But these guys are sort of getting success, and you have to keep chattering, or you're forgotten.
That's true.
A little bit too, and you have to stay probably. And like jumping back to like the funny thing that started it all, like when we thought about the Boomer Ben's comment, like that guy's a brilliant guitar player.
What he does is amazing,
and he does his own thing, which is really cool. I mean, he's stealing it from August Rush, but it's still pretty cool.
It's amazing what that August kid grew up to do.
That kid,
August Henson. I'm
sorry. Go watch it, because you'll see him. His first name was August, and that's him as a child with Robin Williams. It's wonderful. It's a great. Robin Williams made some cool movies.
He did.
Yeah, some ones that you don't expect to. That's what's kind of neat about it. No, but it is such a funny, like, because you're supposed to, as a young guitar player, you're supposed to fight against the authority that be, right? Like, you're supposed to, the government, society, maybe the folks that come before you. It's tricky now because these cats didn't have anyone that came before them back in the old days. They were the trailblazers.
Yeah.
The trendsetters.
I mean, maybe is it possible that you're like a Polyphia, you're Tim Henson, and you do things so differently the way you play? Maybe you don't feel connected at all to those guys. I mean, I think that's possible. I mean, I think I've read and heard that he grew up playing that stuff, classic rock and Pink Floyd and John. I mean, like everybody, right? But their music is pretty far removed from that.
I don't understand it. It's too good for me.
Yeah, it is pretty spectacular.
It's pretty amazing. I'm gonna give him that. Hats off.
I just have to decide if you care or not. but it technically is amazing.
I mean, but I'm gonna listen to Blackberry Smoke before I listen to Polyphia, just for my own taste. I want to hear.
Polyphia falls into that thing where I like to see it happen because it's amazing that someone can do it. But I don't know if I put it on the background. But I have tons of students who love it in the background.
So Eric Clapton is the Nicolas Cage, and Polyphia is Adventureland Park in New Jersey. It's one of those parks you just want to see it happen. You want to watch the great documentary on like this disastrous. I don't know. It's the worst analogy ever. I'm just thinking about Adventureland now. It happens. I just go off on little rants. And if you haven't joined us before, that's what's happening right now. And you're like, why did it? You saw this like thumbnail about like, Clapton's Rolls Royce, or like young hating the old. And it's like, what am I clicking on? Just welcome to our world. Come in. It's fun. It's warm inside. Any other thoughts on the Strange Universe thing?
I think that's about it. I do think, people love a good drama. I don't think the old and the young hate each other as much as
it's not
span out.
I think it was all just misunderstandings, and just like, because we talk too much, we say dumb stuff, and it gets quoted and misquoted. It's just silly, and I think everyone's pretty happy just to be out there.
I think mostly it's good natured. Yeah, I think the Boomer Benz thing was relatively good.
Well, I feel for those cats too, like the Mateus Sasato thing, when he had I think he's burned out and had to pull back from his whole social thing.
Yeah,
just the idea of like these guitar players are making a mark on like 15-second runs that they practice for like days to make sure it's perfect, and then they put it out there, and this is this unrealistic expectation of guitar playing.
Well, you get people who speed up their videos. You get all sorts of things. Oh yeah, for sure. There was yeah, heck yeah.
Why am I so naive? I didn't know that was a. Well, this is sped up too.
We talk really
like we were drinking this morning on a live stream.
That's true. Like the sloth in that Zootopia movie.
God, it's a funny part.
Movie. That's the best part.
Because I really don't think that movie's that great, but part was funny.
That part is good.
It's not as good as when I was showing my kids Space Ghost Coast to Coast last night, which I realized was highly inappropriate as I was watching it.
It's cartoon.
And then what did I pull up next? I was like, let's watch the trailer for something. Oh, I was like, it was because we were talking about it. I was like, I want to show you the trailer for Private Parts, the Howard Stern story. I was like, this is a great movie. I love it. And then the very beginning of the story is like Howard Stern doing a puppet show for some old people. Then the puppets start having sex. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Like, oh, yeah. Fail. Parent fail.
My parents, my kids thought it was hilarious, though. They were like, they lost their minds during that and Space Ghost Coast to Coast. It was funny just watching them. Like, my oldest son almost peed himself, which I love when that happens.
Just fine. It's fine. Totally fine.
Better than vomit.
Yeah.
For the most part. That's how I live my life. If it was better than vomit, full speed ahead. Thanks for joining us. Share the love, share the comments, share the joy. Enjoy guitar. Peace be with you all. And to all, a good night.
Off to go do some boomer bends.
Church.